What's so important about this BMW grille? Why is a BMW car nicknamed the Baroque Angel, also known as the Angel of Death? And why do we think Camillo Castiglione should have been a poker player? We'll answer these questions and more as we take a drive through the eventful history of BMW. It's now 1921. The BMW name no longer exists. The former employees, including Franz and Max, now work for Knorr-Bremse AG. Now remember we mentioned it was going to get complicated. The companies now get shuffled faster than cards in a poker game. And Camillo Castiglione is the master dealer. We'll back up a bit to take it from the beginning. Let's watch the play. Rapp Motors Works is flipped to BMW. BMW is bought by Knorr-Bremse. Did we forget to mention previously that Camillo is a shareholder of Knorr-Bremse as well? Then Camillo Castiglione buys BFW. This is the company that bought Gustav Olio's company. It's also the company that BMW supplies with engines for its Helios motorcycles. Camillo receives a letter of support from no other than Franz Joseph Popp, in which Franz describes BFW as a dead factory in a town that is unfavorable for industrial activities. Seems Franz and Camillo are still in close contact with each other. Camillo buys BMW company name and engine construction operations along with employees, production facilities, and company logo from Knorr-Bremse. Camillo transfers everything to BFW. The employees move into BFW's factory buildings. Camillo changes the names from Bayerest Flugwerk to Bayerest Motoren Werk. And with that, BMW is back. It's a winning card without doubt and definitely worth betting on. Now that they are back in business and have inherited the Helios brand, Franz asked Max to assess the motorcycles. Max says that the best thing to do with Helios motorcycles is to dump them into the nearest lake. They agree that they will start out with some improvements to the existing Helios motorcycles, but that Max will begin designing all new motorcycles. The result is the BMW R32, which is the first motorcycle to receive the BMW badge. The BMW R32 is a breakthrough in vehicle technology. It uses the Boxer twin shaft drive powertrain layout still used in BMW today. What's so important about Boxer engine? It's about the way the engine is mounted. The cylinders are transversely positioned, sticking out of the sides. This means better cooling and allows for a more compact bike. Max becomes a technical director, and BMW begins its meteoric rise to one of Bavaria's and Germany's big industrial companies. Now it's 6 years later. BMW purchases the vehicle manufacturing factory, Fahrzeugfabrik Eisenach. This is a pretty historic milestone as it marks BMW's entry into the automobile industry. The Eisenach vehicle factory is amongst the earliest car manufacturers. They produced their first car, the Wartburg, back in 1898. The factory in Eisenach becomes the birthplace of BMW's car manufacturing business. BMW's first car is the existing Dixie model. But it's not long before BMW manufactures their first all-BMW car, the BMW 3-20 PS. Then the BMW 303 is released. It is BMW's first six-cylinder car and the first car with a famous BMW kidney grille. It's the least expensive six-cylinder car at that time, but also underpowered. Its top speed is only 56 miles an hour. Let's talk about that grille a moment, because BMW without a twin grille would be unthinkable. Radiator grilles divided with a center bar are not uncommon in those days. But designer Fritz Fielder goes further to improve the aerodynamics. He actually splits the grille into two kidney shapes and then angles them outwards to improve airflow. The elegant design with the rounding at the top and bottom grille are the logo position at the top of the arches becomes iconic to BMW. Later, the grille can be smaller because it isn't the only element used to cool the engine. You can see this in the BMW 503. Then later, the grille goes horizontal in the BMW 507 Roadster. This is the first car to feature horizontally positioned intakes. Again, there are practical reasons for this design change. The BMW 507 has a very flat hood, and the grille needs to be larger to cool the V8 engine. But it seems it will remain even when its original purpose is gone. The i4 all-electric concept BMW features a massive grille that isn't used for cooling. BMW calls it Intelligent Panel, and behind it are sensors for the car's electronic driver's aid. It's actually a pretty neat way of incorporating the massive amount of sensors that will be needed for self-driving cars in the future. Does that mean that we'll see the grille get even bigger in future cars? Who knows? But what we do know is that the grille is unlikely to disappear anytime soon. The height, width, shape, and position may change, but those who see it know at a glance that the car is a BMW. Back to our story. Camillo is now having financial difficulties and sells the holding of BMW to a consortium of banks. Later, he flees to San Marino in Italy during World War II and hides there, disguised as a monk. France enters a license agreement with the U.S.-American company Pratt Whitney, enabling BMW to manufacture 2 air-cooled radial engines. The expertise they gain allows BMW to produce its own, and soon it gains a monopoly for the production of air-cooled aircraft engines in Germany. It also expands its aircraft capabilities with new manufacturing facilities. This makes BMW a key strategic company for the German aviation industry, who have begun to secretly rearm the Third Reich's emerging air force. Franz is skeptical of this direction. While aircraft engine production is good for the company financially, it will make the group dependent on the National Socialist regime. He will not be able to run the company autonomously and autocratic, and he feels it will suppress innovation. He keeps his distance from the party, but joins in 1933 to prevent his removal as general director of BMW. Then BMW undergoes a fundamental change. It becomes one of the most important companies in the German armaments industry. The German Air Force uses BMW to conceal the huge increase in the volume of aero engines that will be used to rearm the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force. But the company isn't able to meet the volumes demanded by the Reich, especially since production is happening alongside the production of motorcycles and automobiles. So, the government supports the construction of 2 plants known as shadow or forest plants. These are camouflaged right from the start and employ forced labor. A local group leader tries to exclude Franz from the National Socialist Party. They accuse him of allowing his family to be treated by a Jewish doctor despite multiple warnings. Once again, Franz complies. Now it's June 1940. Franz writes to the chairman of BMW's supervisory board, explaining that there is a setback in aircraft engine production. The very existence of BMW could be threatened. There are setbacks. Production falls behind. As the war progresses, there are shortages in labor and raw material, and the factory does not meet the targets. Franz is accused of refusing to perform his duty and of sabotage. He is granted leave of absence in 1942, but remains on the supervisory board with little or no influence on the running of the company. The war ends. Franz is arrested by the Allies because he has the title Military Economic Leader, granted during the course of the war. He is designated as a normal member of the Nazi Party, but appeals and is finally classified as untainted. He attempts to rejoin the BMW board, but is unsuccessful. Max, too, resigns after the war. Allied forces occupy Germany. BMW factories lie in ruin and are dismantled. The East German facilities are lost behind the Iron Curtain when part of Germany is put under Russian jurisdiction. Germany is banned from producing vehicles or aircraft greater than 110 cc. BMW survives by making pots and pans from leftover engine parts, as well as small motorcycles. Motorcycle manufacturing is especially hard hit. During the war, motorcycle manufacturing was relocated to the Eisenach plant for capacity reasons, together with spare parts and machine tools. These are now behind the Iron Curtain. They might as well be on the moon. It's now 1948. The ban is lifted to allow 250cc motors, and prohibition on car manufacturing is lifted. BMW releases the R24. It's almost identical to its predecessor, the R23, which was released so many years previously. The chrome has disappeared due to shortages. It also needs to be produced more cheaply, so the plunger suspension isn't used. It's relatively inexpensive and practical for everyday life, much cheaper than a new car, which is the only other option since the second-hand car market is virtually non-existent in Germany after the war. BMW restarts car production in the only surviving factory in Munich. The BMW 501 rolls off the factory floor and establishes the image of BMW as a manufacturer of fast, innovative, and luxurious salon cars. It's a completely new platform and meets safety requirements that haven't even been made official yet. The steering column is shorter to prevent injuries to the driver during an accident. The petrol tank is under the rear seat, which might seem obvious today, but back then, petrol tanks were installed near the engine. It is nicknamed Baroque Angel by the German public, but it almost becomes the angel of death for BMW. There are delays in manufacturing. and the car is too expensive for the average German at the time. The company is on the edge of bankruptcy. BMW scrambles for a way to recover. It licenses the little Italian Isetta and re-engineers much of the car to include a BMW one-cylinder, four-stroke, 247cc motorcycle engine. The Isetta became a sensation because it is unlike any car that has gone before, with its egg shape and bubble windows. The entire front end of the car unhinges outwards to allow entry, and in the event of a crash, driver and passenger exit through the canvas sunroof. The car is not a typical BMW, but it sells, and today they are amazing collectible items, going for small fortunes. Then comes the BMW 700, another small economy car, which successfully launches in August. But all this may be too little to save the company. It's 3 months later, Daimler-Benz puts out a bid to buy BMW.